one of my students said something that's really haunted me. She said that what she found most disturbing about lockdown is how little she had to change her life. She realized that she was already so isolated, that she was already doing so much on technology. She said, it's just actually not that much of a change. And that's what's scary, right? So we were already headed in this direction of having everything delivered, everything streamed, everything mediated by technology, our relationships replaced by Facebook friends and Twitter followers, and it was making us unwell. There was already, thinking about the crises before the crisis, there was already an epidemic of depression and loneliness and addiction related to all of this. And yet, if you're Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, chair of Governor Cuomo's task force on reopening New York, what you see in the lockdown, and Schmidt has been very open about this, has been a vast experiment in remote learning, as he said. And people are, as from Schmidt's perspective, he thinks people are seeing that remote learning is in many ways better than in-person learning, and telehealth is in many ways better than in-person health. And so all of these are backdoor privatizations. I guess this is the most important thing that I would just stress, is that our public schools are being handed over to private tech companies, and it's being called remote learning. It is backdoor privatization by way of tech platform. And we did it because we sort of had no choice, and under the sort of fog of kind of panic, and sure, Google Classroom and Zoom and all of that. But we need to protect our public schools. And if we are going to, if we are going to have to be using more technologies in order to work and learn, then we need to treat them as a public commons. We can't do this through backdoor privatization. So this needs to be a broader conversation, which balances the need for different kinds of investments. I talked about the importance of access to nature. We should be having if we spent a fraction of the resources and energies that we have spent retraining teachers to be able to run a Zoom classroom or a Google Classroom, if we did some training and allowed them to learn about how to do outdoor education, we could be having our young students in the spring learning outdoors, doing math in the forest. It is possible. Outdoor education is incredible, and especially for kids with, who have special needs. Many of them learn better in nature. But we're not doing that. We're just immediately migrating to a very profitable model for the tech companies. So I don't want to say that, I don't want to come across as saying that the technology isn't important. I think it is, but I think it's being used to foreclose on a lot of different kinds of solutions that involve investing in people, right? Like there's all of this, I talked earlier about this idea that, at the beginning we were told that the countries that were doing well with COVID were doing well because they had submitted to these incredibly intrusive surveilling apps. What we know now is that the countries that have done well are ones that have an actual social infrastructure, a public healthcare system, which doesn't just do contact tracing, but then contacts people and says, what do you need to quarantine? Can we pay for your hotel? Can we, this is why I was mentioning that, in the 1930s, the government was building isolation huts and delivering them to people so that they could quarantine. That's what it means to actually support people to do what is necessary in the face of a pandemic. It requires not just technology, it requires people who are checking in on you, and it requires money to help people stay home from work, get food, have childcare, walk the dog. So this is an opportunity to have a community health corps, create, once again, huge numbers of jobs for young people who are facing unemployment and older people. So I am worried about these this techno-solutionism. The thing that I find actually hopeful about it is that I don't think people like it very much. And because this rolled out faster than was the original plan, I think we're a little bit like the frog in boiling water, which, to use a really overused metaphor, that if this had rolled out more slowly and incrementally, would have gotten more used to kind of getting all of our entertainment from our television sets and all of our relationships over Zoom and over social media. But because it happened so quickly, I think we're more in touch with the toll it's taking on our mental health. There's more conversations about how important touch is, how important feeding all of our senses is, that we are not just our eyes staring at screens. So I think we need to hold on to that, because it will evaporate as we get used to it. So I think we need to really stay in touch with the fact that this experiment, and it has been an experiment, the results are disturbing. It's not what Eric Schmidt thinks it is, that we're all just like, yeah, let's keep homeschooling forever, let's keep remote learning forever. Our kids hate it for the most part. Let's remember that.